X-Shot are giving Hasbro a run for their money recently. The Chaos Meteor carries 2 or 3 balls more than the Kronos. It seems to have forced the price of the Kronos down quite considerably here in the UK. Wouldn't it be amazing if the X-Shot Chaos line contained a blaster with larger capacity? Good heavens! Where's this come from? There's a note in this. It came from Blaster Time, the shop for all your foam blaster needs. Apparently they have a very efficient delivery service. From the warehouse straight through your roof. How did they do that? Brings a new meaning to the term Flying Dutchman. Well, let's take a look at the box then. Straight away, there are 3 major differences I noticed between this box and the rival boxes. Firstly, the guys on the X-Shot Chaos boxes most certainly aren't wearing eye protection. Unlike all of these guys who definitely are. Including crazy rival parkour dude. Gotta protect my eyes! I'm not sure what message X-Shot trying to send with this. Personally, I like to think they're trying to present themselves as rebels. I don't even need my retinas attached. Seriously, whilst I appreciate the rebel-y sort of message, you should really wear eye protection whilst nerfing. Naughty. But I do like the expression on his face. Bring it, Hasbro. The second major difference I know is the sheer amount of rounds on display. X-Shot has a habit of giving you at least double the amount of rounds that you need for their blasters. 12 for a 6-round blaster, 24 for a... How many does this blaster even take? 14. Nah, near enough. I guess 24 just seemed like a more pleasing number than 28. But I feel like they're trying to make the point that they give you more than Nerf. The last difference is this. There is no mention anywhere on the box that you should only use official Zuru ammunition. In contrast, Hasbro never stops reminding you to only use official Nerf darts. They don't do it so much on the Fortnite boxes. Zuru are saying not only are our balls compatible with other blasters, but we don't mind what balls you use in ours. It's refreshing. RXB presumably standing for red against blue. Is that what it stands for? Claims of 100 feet per second? If this blaster's anything like the other one, then it won't have stickers on this side, only one side. But it'll give you a bunch of stickers to stick on the blaster afterwards. And here's where to put the stickers on the other side of the blaster. Ooh, shiny. Also available is the Meteor. I wonder if they're going to make any more of these. Now, in terms of size, my initial reflex is to compare this to something like the Helios. However, bearing in mind it is kind of uploadable, top-loadable, reloadable easily, I'd be more inclined to start comparing it with something like the Artemis. Initially, it looks longer than the Artemis, and the Artemis obviously has a much larger capacity. I say much larger, but really it's only twice as large. This will be an interesting comparison later. And this goes that way and that way. If this is anything like the other X-Shot blasters, you simply pull it out the packaging. Okay, let's give this a good pull. Well, I didn't do a great job of that now, did I? Oh, look, you can twist them off as well. Twisty, twisty. There we go. Twisty. And there's the blaster. So just holding this in my hand, it actually feels very, very light. Let's talk about the blaster from front to back. Obviously, the barrel is not compatible with Nerf barrel attachments. Just while I was doing that shot, I noticed these kind of teethy sorts of things just there. My camera's going weird. My camera went green, so I banged it on the table and now it's fine. Anyway, I'm not sure whether that's saving plastic or saving space or just something to make the balls fly out of the blaster better. I have no idea, but it looks kind of cool. It makes the mouth look like some kind of a space alien monster thing. There's a little arrow down there telling you that that's where the balls come out or something. Faux attachment rail up the top here. I'm not sure it is faux. Let's check. Obviously, there's nowhere to slide this on. Too wide for any kind of Nerf attachments to fit on. Another faux tack rail there. Lots of arrows pointing to the front of the blaster. Lots of honeycombs in the Chaos blasters. Look at it. It's like it's been made by alien bees or something. Red and blue alien space bee monkeys. That's the noise the space alien monkeys make. Actually a real shame because this looks like it should fit, but it doesn't. Right here we have a jam door. Jam door open. Jam door closes. Jam door open. This looks like a red dot sight, but it's obviously not a red dot sight. It's just this sight. It's a piece of plastic with a little aiming reticule in it. Oh, that thing's called. Is that a reticule? Reticule? I have no idea. Moving on to the rear of the blaster, we've got the nice X-Shot logo there and some buttons. I should imagine that's a safety. Yep, safety on, can't press it. Safety off, can press it. We have a sling attachment point back here. Sure what this does. Faux button on this side which does nothing. Nerf does this do? More faux tactical raily stuff there. And this interesting button here at the end. You pull this back, you load your balls in there. The balls are held in place, and when you're ready to fire your balls, you press the button on this side, and the balls are pushed up into the firing chamber ready to go. I mentioned that it's very, very light. Compared to the weight of the Helios, which is a smaller blaster, it actually feels lighter than the Helios, or at least on a par with it. In terms of priming the blaster, if I hold down here, I find my hand tends to slip, whereas if I hold up here, with my thumb at the front, it's a lot better. This blaster is not slam fire. I still have no clue what this button does. Also inside the box we have these balls, an instruction manual, and also these stickers which you can stick wherever you want. Let's load it and fire it. To load you need to pull this back first. There we go, and that locks into place. I love the way they package these. It feels like a box of chocolates. Dates, that's what they are. They're dates. So to open these, you push a finger through and then go like that. Just a minute. On the packaging it said that you could fit 14 rounds into this, and I'm not sure how many I put in here, but I've only got 5 left. Wait. I've only got 7 left. 24 minus 7. 17. Wait, there were definitely 24 balls in here, and I've just easily fit all but 7 of those into there. That means there's 17 balls in this. 17! You're kidding me! X-Shot are consistently understating the amount of balls you can fit inside their blasters. I wonder how it fires. Press the button and that should release. Give this a go. Whew. So I guess I've got 16 to go. Actually, I'm not going to fire that at the screen. This is awesome. I'm a little bit impressed. Just notice what I think is one minor difference between this blaster and the Meteor. You can keep on top loading your Meteor whenever you want to. It doesn't matter whether that's at the top or at the bottom. You can shove balls in, do that, and your Meteor is then loaded. However, with the Orbit, you cannot load balls in through the back unless the chaser's been pulled back, because this piece of plastic here stays in place until the chaser's been fully pulled back. Nerf War scenario, I'd probably be holding the blaster like this. Don't put your finger too far in there because it will get caught. The singing helps, guys. The singing helps. There we go. Haven't counted the number of balls. Gonna press the button and you can see that that's gone forward, that's been actuated, and we're ready to go again. And we're out. Well, I've completely emptied this twice now, and there were no jams or malfunctions. Right, let's try chucking in some mystery random rival balls then. There we go. Pretty much fully loaded. Press that. If the blaster is loaded, it's like 17 or 18 balls. You do have to kind of encourage the tracer down a little bit out of its clip when you press the button. Not the chaser, the chaser. Did you hear that? I should get some targets that make noises like that. And I think we're all out. About the blaster now. Shot have been incredibly modest about their description of this blaster's capacity. They say it takes 14, it actually takes 18, close to 18. It's fairly comfortable to hold and use. One thing I did notice when firing is that when you fire it, is that after you fired, there is like a brief fraction of a second where you can't prime it again. Directly after firing, it hasn't reset itself and you won't be able to pull this back. You have to leave it for a moment. Before you fire again. I don't see that being much of a problem because it would encourage someone like me, for example, to exercise a little bit more trigger discipline. Besides, the handle is actually really, really good. I quite like it. I still have no idea what the function of this button is. I have no clue what this button is meant to do or why it's there. It doesn't seem to contribute anything to the functionality of the blaster whatsoever. I quite like the faux carbon fibre effect right there. It's the same as what we saw in the mag of the Orbit. As a Nerf War blaster, I love the idea of this and I'm looking forward to trying out a Grim-Up Nerf. Take it outside for a range test maybe. I haven't got a chrono, but I have got a garden. Wow. Honestly, I'm really impressed with this. So what I'm going to do now is talk about whether or not I would use this in a Nerf War and then compare it with another blaster that I think it compares well to. So ergonomically, it does feel fairly comfortable, although I would say that the hand at the front does take some getting used to. You've got to hold it like that or like that. You've got to hold it in some way which lets you kind of pull this backwards. It does take quite a lot of grip to manhandle that backwards and forwards. I can feel the strain. I think actually there with my finger at the front, that's definitely best. In terms of loading the blaster on the fly, I was finding myself a couple of times struggling to get this all the way up into this position. I think that's just force of habit though. And then dropping the blaster, and then load, 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 load. Press the button, and you're away again. Stock is way too small to be able to shoulder properly and comfortably. This is definitely a fire from the hip or a fire from kind of in front of you blaster. In order to be useful, the stock would have to be about this much longer. But in my mind, that's not a deal breaker because that's not how I like to play anyway. I like to run and gun. And for that, this seems like a phenomenal blaster. Right, comparison time. Obviously, comparisons have to be made in my mind with the Artemis. I'm not going to be comparing that with the likes of the Helios because the Helios is mag-fed, which in my mind kind of puts it in a slightly different world. First things first, obviously there is a difference in capacity, 30 versus 17 or 18. So we're pretty much talking twice as much ammo here than there. Reload the orbit, you're pulling this back here to the top, loading, 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 and then you're ready to go. In terms of loading the Artemis, pull this back, load, 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 ready to go. Personally, I think the Artemis is easier to load. It could just be because that's what I'm used to. I find it easier to load here, where I can kind of see what I'm doing in front of me, rather than having to hold the blaster down here and loading like that. It's genuinely hard to tell which one of these is performing better. One thing I will say is that this makes a chunkier noise than that. Now, I have a bit of a love affair going on with the Artemis. It is probably my favourite Nerf War blaster. I'm not sure the orbit's going to topple it from its place of favour. Obviously, testing this out in a Nerf War scenario is a big priority for me, and I'll probably make another video. In terms of the amount of ammo you get free with this, I think it's an absolute bargain. And Hasbro need to step up to the mark and start giving people more ammo. Blaster in its own right, I really like the orbit. It's as simple as that. And it's snapping at the heels of rival. Another thing I will say for the Orbit is, I didn't actually get any jams while I was test firing it, even though I was using dodgy ammo. The Artemis, however, will jam when used with dodgy ammo. And when I say jam, I mean you've got to get a screwdriver or something in there to get the ball out. I haven't yet had that with the Orbit, so maybe it's a case of saying, would you like a blaster with smaller capacity that's a little bit lighter, which is possibly slightly more reliable, although we can't really say that because I haven't really tested it in a Nerf War situation yet. Or do you prefer a high capacity, slightly faster firing blaster, which is prone to jamming every now and again? I'm not saying the Artemis is as bad as something like the Jam page. I'm just saying that every now and again, there have been one or two occasions where it has let me down. Despite that though, the Artemis is still my #1 favourite Nerf Warring blaster. I am looking forward to testing out the Orbit at Grim Up Nerf in September, and once I've done that, we'll see how it goes. It's also kind of cool how it feels a little bit more shotgunny than the Artemis. The Artemis feels a little bit more kind of small and Tommy gunnish maybe. The Orbit feels a bit more shotgunny, so that might also be something that affects your decision whether or not to go ahead and purchase one. Now, as far as I remember, next year, in April, there's something going on in Bristol. Comment below if you know what that is. And you really need to go and have a look at Blaster Time's Instagram because they've got literally thousands of these. And here you go again, whilst Hasbro are busy telling you to only use official Nerf darts, X-Shots are just compatible. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a brand of balls and darts, and I'm going to call it Compatible. Just Compatible. 5-5.